Is your class here, Drew? Is your class here? There's one person from 2, 3, 4. Yay, welcome. And I see one of our alumni in the back there. Hi. Nice to see you here. Hi, everybody, and good evening, good rainy evening in Los Angeles. And for those of you who are not here, hello out there. My name is Victoria Vesna, chair of the Department of Design Media Arts, and happy to introduce you to Amy Knoles, who's our last speaker of our Soundscapes series. This series is designed to promote the idea that sound, audio, noise, anything audible is very critically important to media arts. And Amy is the perfect person to finish off the series that was very much survey-based. We had people talk about European scene, China, Asia scene, US scene, LA, and now we have an artist who puts it into action right here in LA. Amy is incredibly productive. I happen to be on her mailing list, so by osmosis I've been following all the stuff she's been doing. It's just wonderful. It doesn't stop. It's just, this is who she is. And she is currently touring the program called Wasteland, which is a globally performing computer-assisted live electronic music concert with percussion controllers and linear interactive video. Her work has been described as frightening beauty, fascinating and complex, which I think is a wonderful way to describe anybody's work. She is a recipient of the American Composers Forum's Beto Grant, the Durfee Grant, the UNESCO International Prize for Performing Arts, Individual Artist Award from COLA, and on and on. I don't need to read all of this. You can look it up on her site and our site. Currently, and for a while now, she's been director of the California EAR unit, well, actually for 24 years.
Yes.
Gives away our age.
We've been together for 24 years now.
Which has been the ensemble in residence at the LACMA Museum for 19 years, and now has moved to this part of the series at Red Cat, which, if you haven't been to Red Cat yet, you should absolutely go. She's been also working with the LA Philharmonic New Music Group, the Kronos Quartet, Pierre Boulez, Rachel Rosenthal, the Stars, and just a wonderful, amazing array of people, including Frank Zappa, Steve Reich, Todd McEver, just anybody you can imagine. Amy's been there. So give her an absolutely warm welcome, Amy.
Thank you. Welcome. I wanted to say, I think the reason that I've worked with so many people is they'll only work with me once. I have to move on, actually. So my work is two-sided. I'm a performer-composer, and I have been for, probably 12, 15 years, but I'm also a performer-interpreter, which is a very important part of my life, and I've been doing that with the ear unit and Philharmonic and people like that for about 25 years. So I'm going to include both of those things tonight. One of the things that really interests me is working with electronics, whether or not it's my own composition or someone else's. It doesn't matter. I still find it all exciting. So if I had to come up with a title for this talk, I'd say these are a few of my favorite things. I won't sing, don't worry. So what I'd like to point out too is that for me, working with electronics, it's fine if it's very simple or if it's very complex. There's many different approaches to working with electronics, and they're all good as far as I'm concerned. If the piece of music or the work is good, I don't really care about bells and whistles. So I just wanted to put that out there. I think there's plenty of ways to get close to this sort of work and not to be necessarily intimidated by it. Or also, it's a great challenge if you really want to take it further and do some very interesting and complex things with it. So I think I'll just start with a little bit of video of Wasteland, which is the last thing I was touring with. I'm working on some new things that I'll show you towards the end. But this is just a kind of hello. So that's a current setup that I have now, and the instrument that I wasn't playing on yet, but you'll see later on, is an electronic xylophone. It's called the Cat MIDI mallet instrument. It's called Cat because it was made by a guy named Bill Katowski. A bit of history. Actually more history is Morton Subotnick is commonly known now as the grandfather of techno, brought that instrument to me for a rehearsal in, I think it was 87, I think 1987, for a piece of his called Hungers. And I looked at it and I said, "What is that?" And he said, "Oh, that's the instrument you're playing on." And the minute I actually tried it and all these sounds came out, I fell deeply in love with working with electronics. When you play a marimba or a xylophone or vibraphone, you get the sound of that instrument, but with this instrument you can have any sound that you can imagine or create. And it was the first time I started actually writing music was when I started getting involved with the electronics. So I thought I'd show a little bit of a piece by Morton Subotnick. And what I'd like to talk about here is one of the simplest and earliest approaches to working with electronics is, I'm sort of stealing a phrase from Pierre Schaeffer, musique concrète, which has been, means music put together on tape in interesting and unusual ways. When it was first created in the 50s, Edgar Varese was heard screaming in the conservatory, "I refuse to submit to any sounds I've already heard." And that was 1954 when he wrote Désert, which was, I believe, the first piece of music for acoustic instruments and pre-recorded electronic tape. So the birth of this type of music came from Edgar Varese. And I have, I don't know, four examples or so of this sort of thing in a much more modern way. The first is Key to Songs by Morton Subotnick, and it's performed by the Ear Unit, the group that I've been with for 25 years. And how we work with it now is to run the electronics via a computer. It's using a Max MSP patch that was written for the piece, but it's really no more than a kind of high-tech CD player or MP3 player, where the person that you'll see playing computer is just stopping and starting a sequence of music that we play with. So we kind of crank up the speakers and play along. It's a blast, actually. So there's a little bit of Key to Songs. This sort of approach also eliminates that problem when you're on the road and you get to the festival and they really want the Morton Subotnick piece and they say, oh, by the way, we couldn't get that TX-802 synthesizer. By the way, we can't play the piece. So if it's more travelable, it's also a very wise choice. And if I write a piece for someone else, I quite often will make it so that I can put it on a CD and they can play with it. So it's doable in a performance situation. All right, Cave is a piece by another composer performer, Eve Beglarian, from the East Coast, who you should have actually if you haven't sometime. Yeah, she's very interesting, and she's written this piece. It's a video piece, and it's based on text of a 9 or 11-year-old child who's talking about how you need to sort of, sometimes you have to really just go inside and take care of yourself. And it's a really beautiful little spoken text along with the video and ensemble piece. And the electronics in it are also very simple. It's just a kind of growing electronics drone that doesn't need to be really synced up or anything, but lifts a piece up and supports it in a really beautiful way. So I'll play a little bit of that. And actually, when I was looking at this yesterday, I have about 4 pieces here that excerpts of pieces that we'll be performing on Sunday at LA Public Library. It's a free concert. It's at 3 o'clock and it's all video. It's called Videoctave. So I'll mention them as they come up. This is one of them. So this is Cave. Next is a piece we're also playing on this concert. It's one of my favorites. I actually do a version of this piece in my solo program as well. It's called, this is the second movement of a piece called Trichomatic by Clay Chaplin. And Clay is I think he's half in the video world and half in the music world. And this particular movement, the video is a score for us to play off of. It's created very rhythmically. I think he used the program NATO, which was around for a while. And he's done some very clever things with it. And also, we play along with the audio as well, so this is still part of that same sort of genre, but with the video as a score, the puppets.